welcome to Encore, the arts and culture show here on France 24. Today we're all about planes, trains and automobiles. Buckle up as we take you on a high-speed, behind-the-scenes chase through actor Aaron Paul's latest film, Need for Speed. I sat down with the Breaking Bad star to ask him what it's like going from being TV's bad boy to jumping in the Hollywood fast lane. Plus, all aboard for a historic journey back through time when travel was slow and luxurious. We check out the Orient Express as the train pulls into Paris again. First, though, he's best known as the Emmy Award-winning meth-making Jesse Pinkman on the television series Breaking Bad. But Aaron Paul is showing he's got what it takes to be in the Hollywood fast lane. The 34-year-old actor is starring in several movies this year, including biblical epic Exodus, dramedy A Long Way Down, and a video game-inspired Need for Speed. I caught up with him and the director of the high-octane flick, Scott Waugh.
I spent 2 years thinking about one moment. He set me up. In our world, you always go back. We'll settle this behind the wheel. In all honesty, I was like, oh man, another video game adaptation. That's what I felt. And I saw the script on my desk and I was very hesitant to read it. But when I read it, I was very surprised. I loved the story. I loved the characters. I thought it was such a fun, crazy ride. And the fact that the director wanted to do a throwback to the films that really started this genre, like Bullets and Vanishing Point and Smoking the Bandit. You know, I grew up just loving those films and loving Steve McQueen and I love that they wanted to do a film that had zero CGI and all the stunts were actually happened and they're all practical.
I love it.
I grew up as a stuntman. My father was a stuntman, so he was on those great car movies of the 60s and 70s. I love those movies because they did everything for real. It was all practical and the characters were fun and it was always a great story. So when Need for Speed came across my desk, I was like, I want to stylistically give back to the eras that started the movie, started the franchises. Well, it's a great expression we came up for with Aaron. If his acting career doesn't work out for him, he can always be a stuntman.
We're about to drive really, really, really fast.
Have you driven really fast before?
This is my first time ever driving.
I thought it was perfect that a former stuntman was the one that was directing this film. He said, if you want to do this film, great, but I'm gonna need you to be in the driver's seat. And so I need you to learn how to drive these cars. And so I was just on the track as often as I could be. I mean, long track days. I'd be on the track for a good 10 hours a day, sunrise to sunset. And it was great. I started Need for Speed literally the day after we wrapped Breaking Bad, and I worked on the final day, and it was hard. I mean, I flew out that night, and I started at 6:30 the next morning on, just a different project. So there was never really any time to have that morning period. I missed that show so much. It was very hard for all of us to say goodbye, but, Brian and I will be friends until the end of time. I just talked to him the other day. He's just such a good guy, such a mentor of mine.
Start from the beginning. When did you first meet Walter White?
Right, okay. I first met Mr. Walter White, in junior year chemistry. He was my teacher.
When Aaron came across to be in the movie, he was looked at to play the bad guy. And I was always looking for the next Steve McQueen. That's what I wanted. And when I saw his tape, because I was the only alien on Earth that never saw Breaking Bad, so I didn't know who Aaron Paul was, I was like, oh my God, this kid's amazing. This is exactly what I'm looking for, because obviously the obvious choice is the bad guy, but the more interesting choice is the lead.
when I got to a point where I could be picky, I just try to gravitate to roles that I had never done before, just to mix it up. People that know Jesse Pinkman know Breaking Bad. Jesse Pinkman's very broken. He was very lonely, very sad, very tortured, very insecure. Toby is quite the opposite. He's very focused, very driven, very confident. So I think when people see this film, they will absolutely not see Jesse Pinkman. They'll see someone else.
It's time we make him pay. But first, we're gonna need a fast car.
Well, from fast cars now to a rather slower way to get around. The luxury train that once connected the capitals of Europe with Istanbul, the Orient Express, is back in Paris. In all its antique glory, the locomotive and 4 of the original carriages have come to a halt at the Arab World Institute for a major exhibition devoted to the legendary train. I managed to jump aboard for a trip back in time. It's a name that was associated with adventure and luxury travel for almost a century and a half. Its decadent glory was immortalized in books and films, and now, 130 years after the Orient Express first pulled out of Paris's Gare de l'Est station, it's finally made its way back here to the French capital. All aboard for a trip back in time. Hello.
Hello, welcome on board on the Orient Express.
Thank you. The Orient Express was the brainchild of George Nagelmakers, a daring visionary who wanted to create a luxury train that could span Europe from Paris to Istanbul at a time when border crossings were difficult and train journeys were particularly uncomfortable. From the silverware to the velvet curtains and crystal lalique, visitors can get a sense of what it was like to travel in a rolling realm of style and refinement. And they can even experience eating in a dining car that gave even the finest Parisian restaurants a run for their money. The man who's in the kitchen this time round is Michelin-starred chef Yannick Eleno. Let's go meet him. You recreated the experience for people.
We worked, of course, as they used to. We found old menus that offered soufflés. Can you imagine making soufflés in a 15-square-meter kitchen with 11 chefs working in the midst of such a heat? They were real challengers. But they were above all great chefs. The menus were extremely refined. There was a strong sense of local consumption. As the train would move, the chefs would find the products they needed on location.
The legend of the Orient Express is due in part to its famous passengers, both real and mythical. As visitors walk through the carriages, they may bump into one or two.
I would say that.
It was in a carriage like this one that the James Bond film From Russia with Love was filmed. But the most well-known tribute is undoubtedly Agatha Christie's novel Murder on the Orient Express. Jack Lang, you're the president of the Arab World Institute. Here in the bar carriage, you can find many items like Agatha Christie's coat. The exhibition pays homage to these artists. But why do you think they were so inspired by the Orient Express?
Because the train had a slow rhythm with a sumptuous decor inside. When it first started, it took passengers from Paris to Istanbul in 3.5 days, and later on to Damascus, Tripoli, and Cairo. It's the Eastern dream right from the start of the journey. Agatha Christie found inspiration in this very train. I believe she wrote her novel in Istanbul.
The Orient Express was more than just artistic inspiration. It was also a bridge between Europe and Asia, allowing travellers to go where only a few diplomats and explorers had gone before. To get a sense of the train's historic importance, visitors can rummage through trunks inside the Arab World Institute containing old travel documents, timetables, memorabilia and photographs. The Orient Express was around for more than 100 years. It witnessed 2 world wars. If the walls of this carriage could speak, or perhaps a barman could tell us a few stories, what would they say?
I would say many stories, but if I can catch one story, I would say the story of the coach 2419. It was in that coach that the armistice was signed in November 1918. And when later, in 1940, we have to sign another time an armistice on the other side, Hitler decided to sign the armistice in the same coach, in the same carriage, 2419.
The train has a colourful past, but it also has a future, doesn't it?
I hope so, and I dream it. Our plan is to make a kind of revival of that brand on the train, of course. We'll deliver soon in Milan at the Design Week what we can call a concept train of our interpretation of what may be the Orient Express of the 21st century.
Before the Orient Express gets back on actual tracks, this exhibition is going to be toured around European cities that were on the original line from Vienna to Istanbul. But if you can't wait to live your luxury travel dream, you can come jump aboard the Orient Express here in Paris at the Arab World Institute until the end of August. I'm already dreaming about my next destination. That brings us to the end of today's journey. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Don't forget you can watch any of our interviews and reports again on our website, and please do get in touch with your comments and questions via social media. Until next time, Culture Vultures.